Hi, I'm Fred Fletcher, owner of Fletcher's Garage, and along with Nick Leach, host of Wide Open Wednesday. I want to introduce you to what we put together is a series of videos called Earl's Time Capsule with Earl Krause from Area Auto Racing News and Mark Yaple, who is the ultimate car owner and builder. As we relive the memories of some of the tracks that have gone by, Flemington, East Windsor, amongst others, and leading up to the tracks nowadays. So there's going to be a series of volumes, and we hope you enjoy reliving some of these memories. So sit back, grab some popcorn, or hey, them Flemington vinegar fries, if you remember those. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Earl's Time Capsule. Brought to you by Wide Open Wednesday, Fletcher's Garage, and Five Peaks Media.
All right, welcome to Wide Open Wednesdays portion of Earl's Time Capsule. Usually we are here on a Wednesday, but when we're here on a Saturday, we are doing Earl's Time Capsule. Welcome Mark Yaple as a special guest, Earl Krause, of course, and my partner in crime, Fred Fletcher. We're going to talk about the history of dirt track racing, and we're going to start with East Windsor Speedway from the beginning. This is probably going to be in different segments, so we'll turn it over to Earl Krause, and it's kind of going to be a question and answer type deal. Fred's going to ask some questions. Mark knows a lot of the history. Earl knows a ton of history. I know a little bit of it. So Earl,
I don't know any of the history. In 1965, I was only 1 year old.
well, I was born. I was born in '63, but I know a lot of the history because of my brothers and of course Mark and Earl. Earl, now I'll ask the first question: who built East Windsor, and was it always dirt?
It was Don Jones.
Oh,
And
okay.
it was always a dirt track. And the background, as Butch Jones, Don's son, told me about the building of East Windsor. We'll go back a little further. In the 1950s up to about 1960, there was a paved track on the grounds of what became East Windsor Speedway,
Okay.
right along Airport Road. It was called Heightstown Speedway, and it was a fifth mile asphalt track right near the road. And that ran again up to about 1960. Then it closed. And then Don Jones, with his son Butch and other members of the family, they actually founded and built East Windsor Speedway. But as Butch Jones told me, the way the concept of what we know as East Windsor Speedway came about, Don Jones and his son Butch were modified car owners. They had a orange coupe and then an orange sedan number 54L. It was a Lincoln-powered car. Drivers like Jack Stackhouse and Norman Kidd drove their car. And they were racing at Old Bridge Speedway one night in the early 1960s. And Butch told me that they were over in the pit area, and Don looked over at the grandstand, which was packed that night. And he said to Butch, we're in the wrong side of this business. We should be over on the grandstand side, operating a racetrack, making money that way.
Wow.
Instead of making money or trying to make money with the race car. So that's when Don first got the idea to build a racetrack. And as I understand the history of it, his original plan, because the family business, Jones Industrial Service, JIS, was over in South Brunswick on Cranberry Road. And Don's original plan was to build a racetrack along Cranberry Road in the South Brunswick area right near Route 130.
Right.
And he actually had all the plans there, went to the township, but got a lot of pushback from the town about building a racetrack there. So he started exploring other possibilities and found out that the Heightstown Speedway was closed and sitting on property along Airport Road. And I would guess it was probably grandfathered as a racetrack or
Right.
zoned as a racetrack, however you want to put it. So he decided that, okay, I'm going to buy this property, tear down the old Heightstown quarter-mile track and build a state-of-the-art dirt half-mile.
Wow.
And that became, he actually started building it in the winter of 1964 into 65. And
Wow.
that's when my friend Mark and I, we ended up being there for the very first race, correct? In
Yes.
June 1965, right,
Yes.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
And what do you remember about that first night?
Well, Earl, not much about that first night because I'll tell you why. Since it was basically my first race I ever attended, I was not a race fan yet.
Okay.
So I didn't know what to expect, whether I would like it or not, even. So I just you sat there with my dad. We took the whole race in, and it was okay.
Yeah.
I went a couple more times that year, but by 1966, I was all in.
I gotcha. Yes.
And then from 66 up until the day they closed in 2002, I'd probably been to darn near every race in between.
Oh, that's great.
Yes, it was. It was a great time there. I really miss it.
Now, my dad and I, we went to a lot of races at Old Bridge Speedway, and that's where, again, Butch and Don Jones first got the idea of building a racetrack. And my father and I, we found out through Area Auto Racing News in the spring of 1965. It was every week there was an article that they were building this racetrack, at East Windsor. So we were counting down the days, and my dad and I, the first night, they opened on a Friday night in June, but my dad said, you know what, let's go on Friday, the night before, just take a drive down, find out how to get there, and that's what we did. And we drove down Route 130 to, I think it's called Hickory Corner Road, made the left-hand turn over to, I guess it would be Route 33, and Route 33 to Airport Road, made the turn in. As we were doing that, right in front of us was the number 301 Studebaker of Craig McCaughey.
Wow.
And it was being flat-towed.
That's crazy.
And Ed Farley was the driver.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
And we thought, okay, are they going to check out the track early, or what are they doing? So we followed them right into the track, and it turned out they were having a practice session that night before the opener. And we thought, this is going to be great. And we walked, it was free admission, of course, practice session. So we walked in, went to the top of the grandstand, and we just kind of marveled, like, we're at a brand new racetrack.
Yeah.
This has never been raced on. This is awesome. Race cars were coming in. Some fans were coming in too. And we waited and waited, and it began getting dark. And they made an announcement because they were working on the track, grading it. And they said, we're sorry that, we can't get the track ready in time for tonight. And we don't want to try to do it tonight and then have a bad track for tomorrow night. So we're going to cancel the practice session tonight. But we said, that's not too bad, though. Hey, we were here.
Yeah, you got to
this is
see
kinda
everything.
cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
So we came back the next day, next night, on a Friday, drove up there, and along with Mark, we were there with a big crowd of fans, right?
Yes,
The
Earl.
place was
And
packed.
do you remember who won the very first heat race at East Windsor Speedway?
Yes, it was for the limited sportsman division.
Correct.
And a driver named Ed Goki, who they called Little Abner,
Yep.
won with the 19X.
Yep, out of Lawrenceville, New Jersey.
Yes.
And the first car to hit the track that night in hot laps, I don't remember this personally, but the driver of the car told me so. It was the number X05 out of the Chambers Street Auto Body in Trenton, Stevie Kreinacker.
Well, that was a dark maroon coupe.
Coupe, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
That was the first car to come out of the pit gate.
Boy, that's a good trivia question
Yeah.
there.
You got me. I would. Who?
And you
I
know what?
wouldn't have knew that.
Unfortunately, there's probably no one else alive who was going to be able to verify that.
Exactly right. And now down the street there was the fairgrounds, right? Now when did the fairgrounds did there? Because if you drive by the track, there was a fairgrounds down the street on the left.
I don't remember a
Oh
fairgrounds.
yeah, there's a fairgrounds down there.
Remember a Little League field.
There's a Little League field, and they consider that a fairgrounds too, because they had a carnival and stuff down there. My brother John took me there one time.
Interesting.
Yeah, big open thing and big parking lot and ball fields, and he said, yeah, that's what they consider the fairgrounds.
Now I recall when they first opened East Windsor, right, Mark? They called it East Windsor Speedway and Fairgrounds.
Yes, they did. Yes.
But the fairgrounds was down the street on to the left.
Boy, you got us on that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's why I'm asking, because I thought you guys would know. And I always, when I drove a dump truck, I went by there and I'm like, this was where the fairgrounds was. This was where the racetrack was. I said, I got to ask Earl that. I put some mental notes up here because I don't know very much about, like, Mark. I'm like, who the heck was that guy? I don't know who that guy was. But, I mean, there's a lot of history there. I mean, and people still ride by there and they look at the houses and they're like, wow.
Used to be
because
a track.
that track was unique. That track was fast. And we don't know who were the characters back then, Earl. Who were like the superstars back then?
Well, we'll start off with the very first modified winner was Russ Hook, Hoek. Russ Hook. He was from northern New Jersey. He drove the. It was Richard Agee number 9. What color would you call it, Mark? Like a light purple number 9?
Oh, the car that Ed Farley went in later on.
Yes. Yeah.
And blue and Botcher and yes.
Right.
Okay. Yep. Beautiful car.
They won the very first feature there, Russ Hook. He raced at Middletown Speedway, Orange County Fair Speedway, and he came down to East Windsor and won that opening night feature. Went into history. And the driver named Bob Smith won the limited sportsman main event, as I recall. Drove a dark blue number 8B Junior, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And they were the first winners at East Windsor Speedway.
Back in the day, them guys traveled, right? From New York to New Jersey and all that.
Yes.
A lot of them guys did a lot of traveling. Today, guys are like, I really don't feel like doing that.
No, Nick and guys ran on dirt. They ran blacktop, sometimes in the same day.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I remember Bob Rosel telling me they ran Nazareth in the afternoon. This is the mid-'60s. Loaded up, just headed to Old Bridge for Sunday night.
Wow, that's
Yes.
crazy.
And
One thing I remember about East Windsor when I was little was my dad being gone on Fridays, and then he was at Flemington Saturday,
Right.
and then
Yeah.
back to Windsor on Sunday.
Yes.
Did they always go Friday and Sunday, or how
No.
long did they do that?
no, I'd say, Fred, that was basically early to mid-'70s.
Okay.
They did the Friday and Sunday. But for the most part, other than special shows or early season or late season races, East Windsor was always a Friday track. And that was one of the reasons why I liked that track so much. I liked going on Fridays.
You had your whole weekend after that. And a lot of people are wanting tracks now to do that. Why don't one run on Friday, one run on Saturday? And now you talk about these guys running different tracks on the weekend. How hard was it to change the car around there, Mark? Did you have to do a lot of changes?
Back then, no.
Okay.
No. And if you, and even some of the guys that ran on asphalt, matter of just switching the tires.
No kidding.
And a matter of fact, later in the 60s, I went to races numerous times with Al Whitehouse to Atlantic City on Sunday with Larry Taylor in his car, and we used the dirt tires and everything.
That's crazy.
And-
Well, that puts the driver in effect.
Yes.
If,
Right.
if your
Yes.
driver can do this and not make many changes to the car. Nowadays, you make changes to the car and makes the driver look like a superstar. Where back then,
It was the driver was
the driver was you screw him in the seat like Kyle Larson is now, gets in anything and
Yes.
just goes. But yeah, I mean, I look at the books. Earl gave Fred a couple books, and I'm like, "Phew, man, I remember this. I wasn't there, but I remember these pictures. And the one picture that Fred put up as his profile of the sign at East Windsor, that's unreal. That's crazy.
Was that a flat track, or did it have a slight?
Slight bank in the
Slight
front.
slight, and for some reason it looked like a perfect oval from the stands. But any driver will tell you that 1 and 2 was much tighter than 3 and 4. You had to drive it like you didn't take it in the corner the same way on each end. You had to do it a little bit differently.
But near the end, I remember Jimmy drove our car. He said, "What did they do to 1 and 2?" Because you can't get in there like you used to.
Yeah.
They actually moved it in and made it even tighter. And he goes, "This ain't gonna work." He goes, "I'm gonna have to change my driving style." But yeah, I mean, anybody who was anybody raced at East Windsor back then.
Yeah, one of the neat things too in that very first year, actually 65, 6, and 7, a number of drivers who raced at Wall Stadium on Saturday nights on pavement, high bank 3rd mile track, they came over and ran dirt very well.
Yes.
At East Windsor, including Parker Bone with the famous number 659 of Tom Skinner. Drivers like Bill Chevalier and Tommy Elliott, who were legends at Wall Stadium, they won at East Windsor Speedway in its early years. Chubby Hauer was another very fine driver. Joe Severidge.
Gil?
That was so neat. Gil Hearn. Yeah, it was so neat to see them all come over and run dirt and run very well.
Yes, and the Taylor twins
Yes.
ran East Windsor Friday, Wall on Saturday, and with the same cars basically.
Now, there were a couple of characters. You know, they was asking about characters, Mark. The Taylor twins and Vic Gilbert.
Oh yeah,
the whole
they
team there.
the Taylors. They're two guys, along with their brother Donnie also.
Yeah,
who
Donnie's
you
a
know.
good guy.
Right.
Yep.
I'm so glad I got to meet those guys over
Yeah,
the
they were
years
cool.
because
Yep.
win, lose, or draw at the track, whether they won the feature or got wrecked on the first lap, they still had a good time
Yes.
and always had time to talk to kids afterwards.
Right.
and they were just a great bunch of guys, and I kind of missed that.
Yeah, guys get done at the end of the night. They load up, they go home. Some of them don't spend the time with the kids, although there is a lot of them that do. And like Donnie Taylor was one of my brother John's very favorites.
Yeah,
He liked
great
him
guy.
a lot. Now, back then, what did they pay to win a feature back then, Earl?
I think it was around 500 at
Wow.
East Windsor.
And they're
Okay.
still doing it.
Yeah, it ain't changed. But yeah, I mean, Don was noted for paying good money right up to the time of the, and he was the only guy to pay big money for heat races.
Yes.
too.
Yes, for a while there, Nick, if you remember, for a short time, the heat races, $500.
Yeah. Yep.
And it, his idea was it gave some guys a chance to make a little bit of money, and he always stacked the third heat like another feature.
Yep.
So, no, that was great. Now, you said the purses early on. I believe the limited sportsman or novice probably paid $150 to win, because I remember I was helping. I don't know whether you remember, Earl would remember Bob Patterson.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I've heard that name.
I kind of helped. That was where I got my start as a 13, 14-year-old kid. And I went to the window and got his money one night. He got 10th in the limited sportsman feature, and he got $10.
Wow. Yeah, but you get $10 to get you a long way there.
Well,
you know what I mean?
It got you along a lot further than it does now.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
sure. For sure.
Now,
So-
$10 a gallon for gas.
Yeah.
Speaking of limited sportsmen at East Windsor, that first year, that was a very exciting division, too. We talked
Yes,
about
it was.
the modifieds, of course. But the limited sportsmen, you had guys like, again, Bob Patterson, Dick Taylor. the
Yep.
other one. Of course, both Taylor boys, Larry and Lee. George Cuke drove a number 57 coupe.
Bob McCullough.
Bob McCullough, yep. And I recall Lee Taylor winning a 100-lap limited sportsman feature.
Yes,
first year.
with one of the Gilbert cars, the 147 Junior.
Yes.
Yes, East Windsor ran for several years. At the end of the season, like October, they ran a special 100-lap limited sportsman race, and it gave those guys a chance to run extra laps for extra money. And we had some invaders come in. A guy named Warren Mutter from Grandview came in.
I remember him.
Yeah.
He cleaned them up one day there, and first time at the track and won the 100-lapper.
The thing that's cool about this is these guys have all this knowledge, and they're probably sitting at home and they're like, wow, now we get a chance to tell what we know. And the cool thing is he's recording all this, and now people are going to be able to watch this.
Yeah.
And when they watch this, they're going to be like, wow. Because we always talk about Earl, we always talk about you and the knowledge that you guys have. And I'm just sitting here and all of you guys, and I'm like, how do you know all this without looking at the computer and out look? Back then, there was none of this.
No.
There was none of that. It was all up here, and this guy has it all in here, and so does Mark. And I always admired Mark for what he did setting up race cars.
Absolutely.
He didn't have none of this. He didn't have none of that. He done it with this and this. And our cars were always fast. And the knowledge that you guys have is just, it's like an encyclopedia of racing with you two guys.
Well, I would sit there. I bet you, Mark, you did the same thing. We would wait faithfully for the mailman to bring Area Auto Racing News to the mailbox, and then we'd read it cover to cover, page by page.
My brother had a stack of them on his
Yep.
dining room table like that.
Yeah, because you back in those times, Nick and Fred, there was no internet to get the race results. Right. You didn't know until Wednesday.
You didn't know who got thrown out. You didn't
No.
know who had a
Right.
fight.
Well,
Yep.
we know your brother got thrown out.
Oh, yeah. Forever. But he always came back.
But no, you had no idea. In the early days, I used to go up to the little deli in my hometown of Yardville, and they had a 25 cents, I believe the race paper was.
Wow.
And then I decided to subscribe. So from 1966 to today, I'm probably one of Lenny's longest
That's great.
subscribers.
Much appreciated.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's now. How many people worked at the race paper back then? I mean, how many pages was it, Earl?
Well, the very first edition of Area Auto Racing News, which came out in June of 1963.
And I have that.
4 pages.
Yeah.
4 pages, and it was a quarter. A quarter. Yep.
Yeah, I have a hard time when I keep all my Area Auto Racing News now because I've been subscribing for a few years. And what I do is I'll read it and then I'll put it out in my customer reception area.
Nice.
And then they get it and
Thank
they're
you.
like, wow, this is really cool. But I have a hard time throwing them away when I get upset.
Mark needs to take a picture of the cover of the first one.
That would be cool.
And then we'll put that on Wide Open Wednesday.
yeah.
Sure.
I bet you a lot of people have no idea. Who was on the cover of that?
Sammy Beavers was one of the headline drivers because he won at Harmony Speedway,
Okay.
which is a topic for another
Yep.
time capsule
Yep.
along the way.
Yep.
That was
Yep.
the very first race ever at Harmony Speedway in northwestern New Jersey, near Phillipsburg. That was their first race, and Sammy Beavers won it, driving the number 77A. And that was one of the headline stories in Aerial Racing News in that first edition.
I mean, now back like when I was started watching it and all, back in that day, could you go down the road and see all the gas stations with all the cars
absolutely.
sitting on the trailer?
Yes.
That's the neatest part.
That
of going
and
to the
Jim's
racetrack.
Country Diner.
Yeah, Jim's Country Diner. That's
Jim's
where
Country
I met
Diner, one
my
of my
wife.
favorite places.
Mark and I talk about this when we go down Route 130. We still look at different places where race cars were
Yeah.
50 years ago.
Yep.
You know,
Yep. Every time I go
At
down
Treat's
13 to
Garage.
go to work, I look for Joe Hall's car and the
Yep.
47 Carberry car and K46 car. And I'm like, that's where it was. I knew that's where it was.
Mark Treat's Garage with the 007.
Yep.
Sonny Yetman.
Yep.
Yep.
Treats.
And then
Yep.
next to what used to be the diner, there was a Esso gas station, Dusty Malmsbury's.
Oh, yeah, I
777,
remember that.
right?
777 was there. And then as kids, we used to maybe take a half a day, get on our bikes, and all the cars in the Trenton area.
Wait a minute, Mark. You skipped school for a half day?
No, no, no. No.
I was ready to say, Mark Yaple did something wrong. That don't happen.
No,
That'd be like Earl saying a curse word. That don't happen.
this was in the summertime.
Okay, Mark.
Okay.
And we would go maybe plot out and maybe look at the cars and one of our favorite stops, and everybody got to admit, one of the greatest guys to meet was at Lenny Martin's.
I knew that was coming.
Yep.
Because I used to go to his
That's my
garage, and
buddy.
so did
Yeah.
Fred.
Yep, that was my dad's
He's Uncle Len. I used to call him Honest Len. My brother used to call him. And it had to be cool back then because you could go walk in the garage and they'd let you look at the car and all. You go to some guy's garage now. Oh no, you can't go in there because they don't want you to see secrets.
Yeah.
What secrets? You know what I mean? Come on now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it had to be cool. I knew it was cool for me when I grew up, but it had to be really cool for you
Yes.
guys
Oh,
because
yeah.
there was so much more back then than there is now. Really.
Yep, we would go stop by Les Catona's when he just had it at his house in Lawrence Township. And a driver named Al Matera lived a couple blocks
I remember him.
over from him.
Al had this mobile
Six-
station up on the
6A, right?
Yes.
Al Matera,
Yes.
6A. Yep.
Yep.
Yep, correct. Yep, and whoever would have us around, and that's how I met Al Whitehouse through his brother Joe. I worked on a farm as a kid, and Joe, we went down to Bob Patterson's where Albert Whitehouse kept his car, and I met those guys, and I was like family for quite a few years with the Pattersons and Whitehouse, and I still remember them to this day. Unfortunately, Margaret Patterson is the only one left out of that whole crew. None of the Taylors are here anymore.
No.
So I'm glad I can remember all that, and I
We're
don't.
glad you
don't
remember
regret
all
a
that.
thing.
It had to be cool growing up and then being involved with them because they're like superstars. Like these guys are superstars to us. And then Earl doing what he does at the race paper and the memories that you guys had. That's why me and Fred wanted to do this. That's why we couldn't just do that on Wide Open Wednesday with you guys. We had to do a time capsule type thing and have Mark's memories and the time capsule with Earl. It's just overwhelming to know the knowledge that you guys have and be able to do it. I mean, Mark seen me as a teenager, my brother wouldn't let me touch any power tools, but we had a lot of fun and we would talk about these memories. And now we get a chance to put them in the can and keep them in a time capsule where people can watch them and enjoy the knowledge that you guys have. Trust me, you go walking around motorsports this year, people are going to be like, that's the guy. And they're going to start asking you questions because there's a lot of stuff that people want to know about from back in that
Oh
era.
yeah, and we're glad to share it. Because these are the memories that we made growing up. Mark and I, like we loved going to the races. You all week long you're thinking, okay, hey, it's going to be Friday night, Saturday night, and you start looking at the weather forecast. Hope it doesn't rain. And it was like a special time, like myself and my dad going to the races. That's what it was all about, you know.
Now, back then, Mark never probably thought in a million years we'd be sitting in the studio talking about
Exactly.
racing. Mark probably figured, Nick will be out doing something else, you know. And it's cool because I always looked up to Mark as another brother in my family because we spent so much time together. And then you, Earl, when I used to run the race paper run for Don Ling, and you know, when we get into Wall Stadium, we'll talk about Mr. Ling and stuff that he's
Absolutely.
done. But back then, in that era, the cars were so cool back
Oh,
then.
yes.
The coupes and the coaches
Yes.
and all that stuff. And that transition to Gremlins and Mustangs. Back then, it was all coupes and coaches and stuff, right?
Basically, yes.
Well-
yeah. And then the transition started, right, Mark? You had a few of the, like Studebaker that
Well,
Dick Taylor drove.
There was several Studebakers back in the coupe and coach days because they were lower, lighter,
Okay.
and but they weren't probably easy to find. But there was several of them. But probably the first later model car I ever saw was the Falcons.
Yes.
Okay.
Late 1960s Falcons. There was a few Corvairs.
Valiants. Valiant.
Oh yes, yes. Schloder's had a Valiant,
Yeah,
or,
right.
or
K46.
Yeah.
Well, now we have Troyer, Bicknell, and all them. What was the hot deal back then? What was considered like, all right, you have a Bicknell and you got the best car. What was the hot deal back
Back then, the guys,
Didn't matter,
guys
right?
built their own.
That's cool.
Yeah, my
everybody
dad
built
built
their
his
Mm-hmm.
own.
own back
Yeah.
there.
Yes.
So everybody was fast.
right. Well, you know, it was fast as you wanted to be.
That's awesome.
And you normally started off with the most popular was the 55 Chevy frame rails.
Okay.
You made your own cage.
Right.
And before you were allowed a quick change, a early Ford pickup floater rear in the back. There was 2 different gears you could put in. That's all, 2 different ones.
Wow.
And buggy spring in the front, leaf springs in the back, obviously. And
How much different would racing be now if you had this and this? That's all you can use is this and this. And that's what's ruining racing today. They got too many things they can do, and there's too many gray areas. All right, it's this. Now, Grandview's not going to let you run the 525, and we shouldn't talk about that now. But, yeah, that's pretty cool that you can only do this. That's why racing was so
Yeah,
competitive.
yeah. The one of my favorite memories was my dad building those chassis and
Yes.
and cages and stuff in our backyard, and him welding in the back saying, "Don't look at the welder." You know, when I was about 7.
Yeah.
Oh yes, my dad always told me that too from
Yep.
the grandstand. He
Yeah,
said,
my brother always
don't
told
look
me
at
that.
the
Don't
welder
look at
because
that."
it'll burn your eyes. Yes.
Yeah, but I
Yes.
remember him
Right.
in our driveway and around the back of our house.
Every kid
building
was
the cars.
hypnotized.
But yeah, I miss those days, and that's why I wanted to
well,
do this kind of stuff.
well, you know, Nick and Earl, nowadays, if you had to build your own car like we did, there would be nobody involved in the racing. Can you imagine some of these young kids now trying to build a race car from scratch?
That's why I was so happy when my nephew got involved and Mark helped him build his car. He was there 2 nights a week. Mark would do nothing until he got there, and he helped Mark build the car, and he was involved, and he misses it now. So,
I
but
also,
yeah,
I also remember going up to Les Catona's because he was around the corner from
Right.
us.
right.
And my dad sitting there watching Les build a bunch of stuff there too.
Yeah, he was
a
very
master.
smart.
Les
yeah.
was a
He
master.
was smart. Carmen, all them guys that
Yeah.
worked there, they were
Yep.
very good at what. And the flea market there, forget about it. That was like we're going to Caconas for the flea market. It was the best one around. But back in that era that you guys are talking about, there were so many cool cars, so many cool drivers, and it was just a whole different era, a whole different atmosphere. We need that now. We need that in our era
Right.
now for the kids, for the people, for the fans. Somebody needs to put that in a bottle, throw it out now, so we can get the people in the stands and get the cars to the race.
Well, I'll throw out 2 names. You talk about characters and drivers that I'll never forget. My all-time favorite driver when I was growing up, going to Old Bridge and Wall Stadium, was Gentleman Joe Kelly.
I heard him.
Yep,
Yeah.
that was my
And-
buddy's uncle. Yeah,
Yep.
Joe.
And he drove the XL1 Don House, which started out as a Lincoln-powered modified. Later, they went to Ford. And Joe Kelly also drove for Dick Barney in the famous number 14. And when East Windsor opened, I recall sometime during 1965 and certainly into 1966, Joe Kelly began racing at East Windsor regularly, driving a metallic blue number 87 owned by Frank Kovacs from the
Okay.
Woodbridge, New Jersey area. And then later, Joe switched over to driving for Jim Fodor in the number 13, the white coupe with red numbers. And at the same point in this time, the depending how you want to talk to him, hero, villain, somewhere in the middle, driver at East Windsor was Pee Wee Griffin.
Yeah.
The red
I was going to say, who are some of the big
Yeah.
big
We already
drivers
talked
and
about
big,
Pee Wee
big
driving.
And one night it was an afternoon race. Mark, you may have been there.
I was.
It was September 1968.
I know what you're going to say. Yeah.
Yep. A 100-lap feature. If we can go back and forth on this one. It was a 100-lap feature at East Windsor. I believe it might have been the last race of the season. I'm not sure. But they split the race up into two 50-lap segments. And Joe Kelly, this was during the first 50. He tangled with Pee Wee Griffin during race. I guess they were going for the lead. And this happened over in the third and fourth turn. Pee Wee spun down to the infield, and I believe Joe won that first 50. I'm not sure on that.
Me neither.
But either way, the first 50 concluded. Joe Kelly was in a position to go into the second 50-lapper and go on to win the overall 100-lapper. Pee Wee Griffin went in the pit area, made repairs to the 72. They started the second 50-lapper, and then it got sort of heated, right?
Wait for it.
in the
It's
second
coming.
turn,
Wait for
Yeah.
it.
right? You want
Very
to take it from there?
No, go ahead. You're doing fine.
This is a great story.
Joe was leading, and Pee Wee purposely, I was watching, again, this is before I became involved.
Earl actually
as
said
a-
purposely.
Yeah.
Usually he's like on the fence. He don't. Go ahead, Earl.
I was watching as a fan in the grandstand, cheering for my favorite driver, Joe Kelly, and he's on his way to victory. He comes up to lap Pee Wee Griffin, who was purposely,
Yeah.
I believe, laying back, waiting for Joe and the 13 to come around.
Oh, that's great.
They came through 1 and 2. Joe was on the outside looking to Pee Wee, looked past Pee Wee, put him a lap down, and Pee Wee just turned right and put Joe right in the second turn fence. And they got out and I don't think Joe actually, they were fight. I don't recall them fighting, like fist fighting. 'Cause they called Joe Gentleman Joe, and but everybody knew what had happened. So they set Pee Wee down. They told him to go in the pit area. He's done, and Joe Kelly restarted at the rear of the field now with only a few laps to go, and we're watching him come through the field, and he had pitted because he had damage from that crash. He came all the way back up to the front, and it was Jackie Hamilton and Oliver Butler.
Number
Okay.
4. Yes.
Yes, Ollie was in the red number 4 of Al Silliman. Jackie Hamilton was in his own number 6. And this is where I'm not 100% sure, Mark. Again, we're talking 50 years ago or more.
Yeah.
60
that-
almost.
Yeah. I wouldn't
Yeah.
remember
that,
none of it.
Jackie Hamilton, I believe, was second. And Joe was third. Ollie Butler was leading. Joe passed Jackie Hamilton for second. Went after Ollie Butler to race him for the win. This is like the last lap. And Joe beat Ollie Butler by inches right at the line.
Inches. Yep.
Pretty close?
Yes.
So that eased the pain a little bit.
Yeah. So Joe
Okay.
Kelly won the 100-lapper. Pee Wee was in the pits, being booed by the fans. And yeah, everybody cheered for Joe Kelly, including me. So
Yeah, and-
that was one of my memorable Joe Kelly events at East Windsor Speedway.
And Pee Wee drove the car home, right?
That was another.
That was
night.
another-
That was
Oh, we
another.
thought
night.
it was all the same
I was
story,
waiting
yeah?
for that
No,
to
no,
come.
that was
That was a
2
different
years
Pee Wee
before.
stories.
Oh,
All right.
jeez. Oh, man, now we
Nick,
get two.
You want to
Nick.
take that one, Mark?
No, just briefly. That was a Friday night show,
Yes.
and Pee Wee got into it with Lee Taylor in the 148.
Oh, well, there you have it.
and turned him around or whatever. And those Taylor boys, along with Vic Gilbert's guys, they were not to be messed with.
Oh, no.
And Pee Wee came in the pits. Obviously, I wasn't in the pits, but they were ready for him. He just kept going straight to the pit gate, down pit road, and the police stopped him down in the town of Heightstown in the race car.
He drove the car that far. All the way to Heightstown.
Where are you going? Oh, well,
Yeah.
that's too fun.
Because he had his shop right then there by that Heightstown Circle. I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, right near Cranberry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, back then, who was considered, like we had Go Down Pouch and Danny Buck, who was considered the hot guns at just East Windsor back then?
Well, definitely Pee Wee at that point.
Will Kegel,
Will Cagle.
Cagle.
What? See?
Yep.
Buzzy,
Buzzy.
Ruderman.
See?
Buzzy Ruderman.
All them guys that I see now, I never got to see them race, but I collect their collectibles, and I'm like, wow, I would have loved to see them race. Yeah, I didn't know Buzzy and them guys all raced there. All
yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Stan Pulaski, as he was just beginning his career. I was there when was April 17th, I believe it was, 1966. It was a Sunday afternoon when Stan Pulaski won his first modified feature at East Windsor.
Wow.
Yeah, I believe he had won before, not even at Flemington, maybe at Hatfield Speedway in Pennsylvania, but his very first win at East Windsor came on that April Sunday afternoon with the number 27 Junior Coupe.
See, now, you didn't just have like 5 guys. You had like
Oh.
10, 20 guys. The feature had to be like, whew.
It was great.
Yeah, I bet. And at Windsor, with the long straightaways in the corners, that
Yeah, as
I can
Mark
only
mentioned,
imagine.
Later on, the Taylor boys, when they came out of the limited sportsman division, when they both ran modified, they were excellent. Sammy Beavers, great name there.
Yeah, you know who I believe we saw win their first modified feature ever was Mike Garback on a Sunday afternoon.
Yes.
Wow.
In the purple and yellow 7.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think of all these guys, and you see a lot of these guys that have vintage cars now, and I watch them vintage cars, not counting you, Fred, and I'm watching these vintage cars, and I'm like, did they really go this freaking slow? Because you got some of them guys that think they're racing, and they're going like hell, and I'm like, there ain't no way back in the day that these cars went that slow. No?
Well, they turned pretty quick laps.
Yeah,
considering for
I
what they had.
went to Flemington, they looked like the Blue Angels going into turn 1.
Well, I've had my moments, but no, I'm slow.
No, I mean, but there's some guys like the guys that race in a different division in vintage. They're flying,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm like, this is how fast these guys went back then. I mean, what motors were in them cars, Mark?
Pretty much whatever you wanted.
Oh man,
I remember
mean-
my dad building big blocks and small blocks. He actually built a 327 for the car that ended up Chip Slocum got.
so if you
after
ran
they
modified, you could have. Was it a big block or it didn't matter?
Well, big blocks really didn't come into the scene till early 70s probably
Okay.
because so early on in the modified ranks, it was small block Chevys pretty much, fuel injected.
Okay,
In the limited sportsman, they had the only rule really was a 318 cubic inch limit,
okay,
which allowed you to run a Chrysler
okay,
because they were 318s.
okay,
Ford was a 312.
okay.
And then, Chevys were 302s or whatever, but they ran right with them.
Now John always said a really good small block will blow away a big block all day long. If it's right, he said a good small block outrun a big block. All day.
Well, with the small blocks too, they're a lot lighter than a big block.
Right.
And it's with a big block, you're putting all that weight in the wrong spot too, up by
Right.
the front wheels.
Right.
Not
Yeah.
the
Well,
back.
see, he would know that. Yeah, but I mean, now, like Go Down and Pouch and all these guys, there's so much of a science to it now with what they're doing. And now with the left side pan hard bar, the cars are up in the air like a late model.
Terrible.
Ugliest thing I ever
Yeah.
seen. I'm standing there in turn 1. I'm like, I could change the oil in this car if I wanted to. It's so high up in the air. Just is ugly. And they said the racing was definitely better at Grandview without that.
Well, sure. And even years back, I would bet in that era we're talking about, Earl, that the lap times were at least 2 seconds slower than they are now, maybe even more. But if everybody's equal and putting
That's
on a
right.
good
It puts the
show,
driver back in it. Yeah.
It was all driver back then.
who
yeah.
really cares can you tell?
No.
Does
What
it-
kind of
no.
adjustments could they make on them cars back then? They couldn't make anything inside the car, could they, Mark?
No, I wouldn't think so. If you had a buggy spring, now we're talking 60s still.
Right. Yep.
Your buggy spring had a couple bolts on the front, up or down. Your leaf springs on the back had some shackles
Okay.
where you could adjust them. When I helped Bob Patterson at Wall, mid 60s, we were still running a flathead, and to keep the car from rolling over, he had a chain, frame rail down to the axle tube.
Wow.
How about that?
It would go so far,
Right.
and
Wow.
stop. You didn't want it to roll as much. You took a couple links up.
Wow. That's crazy.
And but yeah, I'm dating myself, helping out with
No,
car
no, no.
with flathead.
Now, if you and I back then were going to buy a race car, what would we go buy? What would we go get?
Well, no, if you didn't build it yourself, I would try to find somebody who had a good running car for sale.
Okay, I mean, there's, like you said, 55 Chevy deal. They're all the same, basically.
Well, the 49 Chevy, those frame rails sat a little higher. The 55s, they were a little bit lower. The
Okay.
car sat lower, which is center of gravity. Guys wanted them. I remember John and I, your brother, we rode down to Eddie Mumford's one time and tried to buy that orange crate.
Still there.
It's Ronnie Roberts still has it. It's a ball of rust, but we tried to buy that car. That was all homemade. Ed wouldn't sell it to us.
Wow.
But that's very few guys actually bought cars back in those days.
Right.
Once,
Right.
because the guys just kept them.
Right.
Yeah.
Until you wrecked it bad enough, you couldn't fix it.
Now, was Roswell building cars back then?
Yes.
And I know a lot of people built his cars,
He
right?
was
Asphalt and dirt,
yes.
right?
He built cars for Will Cagle.
Yeah,
Yes.
Hagel too, right?
And then if you notice a lot, this is maybe end of the 60s, a guy like Danny Mitchell, he would always buy Buzzy's old cars because they were proven.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Proven cars. If you could find one that was proven, sure, buy it. But most guys got the frame rails out and black pipe and bent a roll cage up and welded them up.
Well, you guys bought the 59. It was Cranston's car.
Yes.
And John wound up winning his first feature in that car, right? That was the car he won his first
No.
feature?
Nope. No, the car that John won his first feature in 77, that originally was my M3
That was your car. That's right. That's right. His first Bridgeport feature was that Ferrari.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Now, back to the era that we're in. Roswell, right?
Right.
And Gil Hearn. Now, Gil Hearn's dirt car, was that his original pavement car that he ran on dirt too?
He ran a yellow coupe number 29. He ran that at Wall Stadium. He ran it at East Windsor.
Now, supposedly he still has the hauler and the car.
Well, the car
the
that he ran.
12 car.
Yeah.
It's in the barn next door to his house.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But Gil was a great example of a driver who was successful on
Oh, he's awesome.
pavement and dirt, and just a great guy all around.
When I raced go-karts, he taught me a lot of stuff.
Yes.
And he was at my wedding when I got married. Gil's just one of them guys.
Me too. I was there.
Yep. 5 minutes. 5 minutes you spend with Gil, you fall in love with him.
Absolutely.
He's just a good guy.
Yes.
But yeah, this era in racing, you could talk about it forever. There were so many characters, so many cars, and the pictorials from Ariana are the
Right.
best thing you could have. My brother John goes, here, take this home, look through this. And we would always look for pictures of John, but that didn't happen until after the 70s. But yeah, the old cars, the coupes, and they're the cars that you wanted to draw when you were in school. I want
Yes.
to draw this coupe. My favorite coupe of all time was the 81 that Billy Osmond
Oh,
drove.
yes,
The
great.
Black Force.
John
Safety.
Norsh's.
It was, and believe it or not, when I look at Nick Marco's car, that is a cool looking car. That is a cool looking coupe. And Fred's car is too. Tommy really found something the way he makes the coupes when he redoes the vintage cars. Fred's car and Nick's car are two of the nicest coupes that I've seen. But that 81 was my favorite. That was my favorite coupe, man.
Oh, yeah.
And it had injection on it, and that thing flew. But
I thought when I bought my vintage car, I was going to do an 81, then I was going to do a K46, then I was going to do the 31 like my dad and Bill Gandy had. That was Chip Krieger's, and then it became
yeah,
Chip
we're looking for a
Slocum's.
good picture of that 31. A nice
I have
clear-
I have a couple of good pictures of it. And Mike Feltenberg sent me
Good.
a nice picture of it.
Good.
I was going to do it in there, but I wasn't actually looking for what I have. I was looking for an old vintage car that like I remember, because what I have now is the Troyer chassis with a 358. It's almost like a modified car with a coupe body. It's more than I expected, and Mark helps me set it up. And
Nice.
so we I do okay.
I bet he didn't show up with a computer and a cell phone.
No, we had he has a Taylor tape
Yep. Yeah. Awesome.
and a string and plumb.
And it's cool. You wish you had this back then so you could tape all that and record all that, because that would be cool to watch Mark do this. I wish I was there that day. Next time I'll be there.
That's what I remember, like with my dad when he built the 48, and he kept fixing it, and they wanted to go a little faster, so they got the 31. They bought it. I forget who. They bought it from Chip Krieger, but I don't know whose car it was before that. You guys would probably know somewhere. But I remember Dad setting it up, and then he took it out on Windsor. His one and only race, he went out in Windsor.
Your dad was driving it himself?
He went out, and he came back in and says, "Nope, I'm a mechanic." He's like Mark.
The piece of paper
He could set
trick
up a
with
car,
Mark
and that's
was
it.
putting the paper under the tire And he would say, when you can just pull it out and it's just touching, that's when we're good.
Yep.
And I was like, huh? Yeah, just pull that out. Okay.
I'd have your brother Kenny
Yep.
with a pizza box, hold it under the right rear tire. I would jack up the left side, and when he pulled it out, boom, we were good.
Yeah.
And we won a lot of
see?
races.
Yeah.
Well, on that topic, with Mark, City of Cars and so forth, the East Windsor always holds a special spot in my heart too, because that was the first track that I covered on a weekly basis for Aerial Racing News. In 1978, I was there every Friday and for the Sunday shows as the race reporter. And the first day that I was there was a Sunday afternoon. I'm walking through the pit area, trying to meet as many drivers as I can, drivers and teams. And I came up to the number 99.
Oh, boy.
Yep. Just right there by the third turn exit gate. Guys were parked. And walked up, and there was Mark, and there was Johnny Leach. So Johnny, I kind of recognized Johnny, by just from pictures in the paper. So I walked up and introduced myself. And nicest guy I want to meet, Johnny Leach.
Till we put that on.
Yeah, and he was getting ready, and I introduced myself. I'm Earl Krause. I'm from Aerial Race News. I'm going to be covering the races here this year. And John was, hey, great, good, really good to meet you. And he said, you got to meet my car owner. I said, okay, great. And I'm thinking, I'm going to meet some old grizzled mechanic.
Oh,
and he introduces me to Mark Yaple.
some
I'm
Beach
thinking,
Boy looking guy.
Yeah.
and Mark and I are basically the same age. I'm thinking, well, how cool is this? A guy who owns this race car, and he's my age. Wow, this is cool. And Mark and John, took the time to show me all about the race car. They were getting ready to race, but they said, whenever you have a question about the mechanics, anything technical, please come and see us. And the friendship started that day, and it continues right to this day.
Yeah,
and the same with John.
Mentioned you a lot. Him and Mark were like brothers.
Yeah.
Mark, there's two guys that probably never had an argument with my brother. Mark's one of them. Butchie Kitts is another one. Butchie was friends with John, went to school with him since they were little. And Butch said they never had a crossword. I said, wow, that's amazing. I'm his brother, and we used to fight all the time. So, and I've never heard Mark and John raise their voices to each other. And they spent all them years together doing what they're doing. And they would sit in the garage and talk about the old times. And my brother Kenny loved Al Tasnetti.
Oh, yeah.
Talked about Al all the time. Had a lot of pictures of Al and Plosky. He loved Plosky. And we're going to get into all that, gang. So, and these guys have all the knowledge. When we get into the 70s and stuff, I'll be able to talk some smack about that. And Fred will be able to talk some smack. But as we progress through the 60s here, these guys are the guys, and it's going to be very enjoyable to watch this stuff. Trust me, you're going to be watching it again and again. And we got to thank Earl and Mark for what they're doing for us, taking the time out of their Saturday to be
pleasure.
here. Craig, Five Peaks Media. If it wasn't for Craig, we wouldn't look like superstars that we are. And and Pam sitting there playing her solitaire. My Earl gets to do what he does over there
our
talking
audience.
to the flamingo. So, and of course, I wouldn't be able to do all this without Fred Fletcher and these guys here. We started something, and now it's just growing in leaps and bounds. And thanks to Craig and everybody involved and the race fans and all the people that we deal with, they've all hitting a home run with us. So this is going to be great. I can't wait for the next segment.
First of many.
Yep, first of many, and
Yep,
many different
absolutely.
tracks.
Yes.
Yep.
So everybody, bring your memories with you.
That's it.
Yep.
Yep. Bring them while we still have them, right?
That's right. That's right. Earl's got a ton of stuff that he's going to go over as we progress through the 60s, through the 70s. We're just going to do it in segments. As long as we can get Craig away from the football stuff and get him in here, get him home with us, because we're not going to do this without Craig setting it up, because he is the magic behind Wide Open Wednesday. He's the magic behind all this stuff. Trust
Peaks
me.
Media.
It's going to be great when it's done. Five Peaks Media. Anything you need done,
That's
you got to
right.
see Craig.